I think before I move on to the next page, I'm not exactly happy with the placement of this text. So that's not what I wanted. I'm just going to move it. I'm just going to select both text boxes at the same time. And I'm just going to use my right arrow to just move them slightly off center. I, I think I think that's just going to look just a tiny bit better. Okay, so let's move on to our second page. And I'll click on my pages flyout, double click on my second page. Notice that 2 is highlighted here. And if I look down here in the lower left, 2 is highlighted. And I'll just collapse my pages flyout. And I have a blank page. So this will be inspiration. And why don't I just make that change now? I'll just hit Shift, I'll hold Shift and Control and double click and change my my placeholder text to inspiration. And I'll just click off it. There. Now I'm going to take my location of my project is in Vancouver, the Pacific Northwest, and there's images of I've collected images of natural wood and forests and local artwork that I used as my inspiration in creating the bedroom design. And I'm going to put images of inspiration images on this page. And I do it again with the rectangle frame tool. I'm just going to pick it, and what I could do is just draw a bunch of frames and then fill them with images. But there's another cool thing that I can do, and that is create multiple frames at the same time. So I'm left clicking and holding. I'm holding my left mouse button to create a frame. And if I click on my right arrow, and I click on it again, and I click on it again, you'll see what it does. It creates multiple frames of the same size. Now, if I click on the left arrow, it reduces the number of frames. Right arrow increases the number of frames. And the same with my up and down arrows. If I click on the up arrow again, it increases the number of frames, or down arrow. So I'm going to just kind of do something like that. I've just released my left mouse button, and then I'll just use the selection tool. All of these are selected, so they'll move all at once, and I'm just going to center it on my page like that. So now I can put 9 images, if I wish, on this page. Now, I told you before that there are a number of ways to put images into a page, and there are. Let me just go back to my pictures here, and I'm just gonna here, inspiration pages. So I've got some wood here and some redwood trees and stuff like that, and I'm going to kind of put that in here. So what I'm going to do in this instance is, rather than going to File and then Place, I'm going to grab my image and drag it and place it into my frame that way. I'll get rid of this temporarily. So there is my image in this frame, and I want to get it. I want to fill that image with fill that frame with the image. So I'm going to click on the frame and then right click and then go to fitting, just like we did before, and I'm going to fill the frame proportionally because I want the frame filled. There it is. So now I have, this imagery of wood, and if I double click on it, you'll see the brown rectangle, which indicates the size of the image. Remember, the size of the image is different than the size of the frame. And I can move this image around and get it just where I want it in the frame, and I'll just click off of it. And there, that's good. Okay, so now I have another image that I want to put in there, and this time I'll do it by placing. File, place, and I have some natural sticks here, and I'm putting that in that frame. And I want this image to be bigger, so I'm going to take this frame, I'm going to highlight it, and I'm just going to delete it by hitting the delete key. And then I'll take this frame and drag it down so that it aligns with the bottom here. And again, I can use fitting to fill frame proportionally. Now I have that imagery in there. I can move this where I want it, where it's going to be most effective for me. All right, let's move on to the next one. So file, place, and this, now I have some artwork here, and I'm just going to place it in this frame. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it across. So I'll take this frame and delete it, and then select this frame, and then just stretch it across so it aligns. And then click in here, and then right click, fitting, and I'll say fill frame proportionally. And I can double click on this, and I can maybe make this just a little bit bigger and move it just so I'm trying to get it to, I'm using my arrow keys here to just get it exactly right. What I want the image to go is just to edge of my frame. And then I have one more image that I want to insert. I'll go File, Place, and I just have this really cool image of redwoods. And I'm going to let this one, sort of take precedence. So I'll stretch it across, and then stretch my frame down, and then right click in the frame, go to fitting, fill frame proportionally. And that's about, I think that's just about right. So there, now I have this nice inspiration page that I can talk about the inspiration for the project to my client.